There's no need to be afraid because it's just the truth.
I like dying with stuff on my list because
is that your life goal is to die with things on your list?
Because I think it's funny to like without being a dick, you get to screw people over, right? Like
What?
you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to like intentionally be like, oh, I'm not going to do that thing for you, but you're dead. So you get to not do that thing for that person. Like
someone's been waiting 60 years for you to do something for them.
I was gonna say, what thing do you have envisioned on your list, Vinny, that's gonna be this one thing that you're just like, yeah, I totally spited that guy on your deathbed.
Yeah. But here's the thing about Vinny's list though, is that Vinny is the most like amazing to-do lister, and especially if it's something for someone else, I feel like you'd put off your own to-do list, versus put off something that you're doing for somebody else.
Maybe it's also like spiting the activity. Like, I didn't want to clean the kitchen, so screw you.
I'm gonna die with a dirty kitchen.
Yeah, like I didn't have to in the long run. Like,
yeah, I'm never gonna clean the cat's litter box ever again. In love with movies. In love. In love.
Dani and Nic.
In love movies. Da-da-da.
ooh.
Was that a bop or what?
That was beautiful.
That slaps.
Oh my gosh, who's that hot young singer on the track?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You might have seen her before on Mint's stage.
Pop star?
Karaoke.
Yeah. Stop talking about that. It's triggering. Welcome, movie lovers. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nic.
And this is In Love with Movies. Wait, isn't there a button for that?
There's no air horn like the one that you want. No.
Whoa! That was actually really good.
That is an excellent opportunity for us to introduce our guests.
Wow, that air horn you just heard happened to be our guests for today. They're some funny people. We like them. We enjoy them. They make us tee-hee-hee. Also, one of them is my coach.
Aww.
I don't know whether that was a question.
Is he though?
My coach. We have Vinny and Tara. Air horn again.
Yay!
You pressed the button and nothing happened.
That's because I meant to. There we go.
Ah, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you both for coming.
Wow.
Who are you? Do you want to just...
That's a deep philosophical question, actually.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Who
we
are
want you to
any
get.
of us?
Really, who are you?
Yeah, we were talking about death at
Previous
the...
talk. I'm just someone, existing on the plane before death. That's really it, aren't we?
And I just have a lot of things I need to do for people. I'm hoping I die before I have to complete it.
Well, that's been our show.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Good start.
But Vinny, Tara, do you want to introduce yourselves just as individual human beings and how we know each other, and then as a couple? I just woke up from a nap, guys. My brain ain't turned on.
Let's start with how do we know you? Let's go there.
Yeah,
first.
how you know us?
How does one really know? Well, I think, unless I'm forgetting, anything pre-pandemic, bets get sort of off. But unless we met in some way before that, we know each other through Comedy Sports. Mm-hmm. Your local comedy played as a sport, not about sports, in various different ways. And just through being involved in various ways through that organization, that's sort of how we met. And then, of course, obviously, Dani and I got a lot closer because we were working on the same team. I am said aforementioned coach. But that's the raw data. So what does that put us at? Like a couple years?
Yeah. 3 years now? Or
3 years?
Yeah. And Tara...
Next year's your senior year.
Oh my God. Comedy Sports, senior year.
I love that.
I want that show.
Called it TM. I got it. I'm going to produce that show. Okay? All right. Okay. And then Tara came with Vinny, but also was in Comedy Sports.
Yeah.
Yay.
Also comedy sports.
Yay.
Also comedies.
Tara, I don't know if we met before. Were you in Mint?
I was. What seasons were you in?
What were the numbers back in the day? 2018?
So 15 was the last season at MCL, and then 16 was the first season at The Annoyance.
I think I was 2018, 2019.
Yeah, it was
Both
right.
of
It was right before pandemic, but you did it a couple of years.
So it was probably like
Those are the
it
ones,
jumps
right?
real
Yeah, at The
quick
Annoyance,
because there were a few a year. I don't think we crossed over, but we're still of the same blood, you know.
You got the same alma mater, the same history of comedy. Yeah.
Everyone in the Chicago comedy scene is incestuous in some way.
Very much.
On that
It's
vein, why don't we talk about why the two of you are on here together and
Oh,
give
yeah.
us a little bit of.
Speaking of incestuous comedy
Speaking of
couples,
incest,
Speaking of incest,
this
we
is
both
what is wrong with this podcast today? Death.
we saw each other across the table at the
Existential
family
dread.
reunion. A spark flew.
This is why I do love always having just yes-anded it. Didn't matter where it went, yes-anded it.
So anyways, how you guys know each other?
We're dating friends.
Do you kiss?
And we live in the same house.
You guys,
Ooh.
wow, you live in the same house and you kiss sometimes?
Easily
Gross.
for the first year of our relationship, Tara referred to me as her roommate.
No, one time. Listen, one time as a joke, somebody in Comedy Sports asked, "Are you guys dating?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is my roommate." One time, and ever since then, Vinny's like, "I'm just your roommate."
It hurts so bad. It hurts so
One
bad.
time, I ran into another comedy friend and who had never met Vinny before, and my brain was like, "What do I say for what Vinny is to me?" Because it's not just boyfriend. And
Aw.
my brain was like, "What do I say?" And I was like, "This is Vinny, my lover." That's what came
Wow.
out. So
I mean, you're not wrong.
I think Tara just
Yeah.
has trouble describing relationships. That's what I've
this
learned.
is my good best homie friend.
I will
And-
settle for boyfriend, girlfriend, whether that is all that we are to each other. I'll settle for it because it makes sense to the average human being.
This is my Costco partner.
Aw.
That too.
Wow.
That's its own separate line.
I mean, that's deeper.
This is
That's-
my cat's stepdad.
Your cat stepped.
I mean, that's fair if she had the cat beforehand.
Yeah.
Did the cat before?
Yeah.
I feel like if you brought a cat
Technically
into
stepdad.
our relationship, I would have to be stepdad. I would
That's
not
true.
get to be dad.
And then they would yell at you, "You're not my real dad."
Yeah.
Is that what happens, Vinny? Does she say?
She's pretty. She likes me a lot. Like sometimes too much. I think.
She's just such a friendly baby.
Mm. Her name
I
is
think
Tiny.
she's fully committed to calling this stepdad dad.
Oh, that's so sweet. So let's rewind. How did you guys become roommates? Where did all of this start?
Yeah, where did you cross the line into lover? Exactly. I want to know that detail.
We were both in a musical, a comedy musical.
Yeah.
And then we were also, Vinny had just got cast on Comedy Sports Ensemble.
So we'd known each other, like, not really through as friends or anything, just like in passing a bit before that from being in similar circles. And so like knew who each other was. And then we were both in a mutual friend asked us to do this musical and we played dancing dildos and
Pause. What's the rating on this show?
Oh, yeah, we're explicit. You can say dildo.
Dildo's
Okay.
definitely allowed.
Great. So the musical is actually really cool. It was sort of a take on the Disney princess story, but more
dildos.
Like
It's about it was about the like sexual freedom and like revolution, and it's very feminist and very awesome. And
Cool.
Mitch McConnell was a villain.
I played
he
Mitch
played
McConnell.
like the evil
stepdad.
like
It was
stepdad situation.
yeah.
I was the
Wow.
queen. You know, there was so that basically it was Princess Adira and her sidekick / mentor figure is a dildo, and then you know, shenanigans happened. We were dancing mushrooms. We were dancing dildos.
dancing
We had
dildos.
dildos on our foreheads. Very, very
It was
exciting
a
show.
troll, I think.
But we
Wow.
fell deeply in love.
Yeah, I mean, How do you say no to the giant dildo
I was just gonna
on a
say,
pretty girl's head?
you saw the wobbling rubber on her forehead.
Yes, it was a gigantic, like, forearm size.
It was comically large. Like, it passed the point of like, oh, that's a big dildo. Just like, what the hell? That's huge. It was very funny and very silly. And so, yeah, we just bonded over the showmance.
Cute.
But I don't know, really found that we had a lot in common and a lot of like, I don't know, you were cute.
Hey, looks helps in the beginning.
Yeah.
Tara, did Vinny have a mustache at this point?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was
okay.
born with a mustache.
Oh, okay. For those of you listening and not watching, find Vinny on any platform. Check out his stash. It's pretty iconic.
It's
Mhm.
there. Yeah, I've had a mustache on and off since 2010,
Wow.
2009 maybe. I've had like a beard and like a goatee at various points throughout that, but I pretty much the mustache that whole time.
Someone posted
So.
a picture of you for your birthday, your 30th birthday, and you did
Yeah.
not have anything on your face, and I threw my phone. I was like, who dis? Completely
Baby
different
Vinny.
person.
Little me.
So anyways, back to dildos. So was it like right after that show that you all were like, you are my lover? Or like, how did all of
Yeah,
this
did you
get
become
started?
roommates as soon as the
One of
show
the-
ended?
There was a lot of like where, you know, cast party or like hanging out or rehearsing or we're taking the same train back or whatever. A lot of that, a lot of like
Aw.
walking together, hanging out, talking. One day we were getting like Chinese food as a cast. And I got
Oh,
a
yeah.
fortune cookie that said, happiness is right next to you. And Vinny was sitting right next. He was the only person sitting next to me. And I was like,
I just got chills.
Yeah, it was and then so there was a night where it was like 2 a.m. We were leaving. We lived close to each other, not as close to each other as I said we did. Because I'd always be like, oh, I'll walk you to your house, and then I'm like 10 minutes away. And it's more like 40 minutes away. But that was I didn't want to like, you know, make it a big deal, or I didn't want to go like the way I wanted to go the long way. Yeah. So we
You
were
wanted to walk
splitting
her
a
home.
lift.
You're allowed to want to walk her home.
Yeah, and then Tara would be like, "But you're so far," and I'm like, "No, I'm like 10 minutes." And then one time she walked to my house from her place. I was like, "This was not 10 minutes." It was like, "Oh no, my secret." But we were in the car, and it was like 2 a.m. So I'm like already half asleep, and I had mentioned that I am, which is still true. I'm really bad about remembering to eat during the day. Like I'll have breakfast in the morning, and then I'll just go about my day and forget until I'm ravenously hungry at night. So I said something about like, oh, I always forget to eat, and you said something like,
well, I was trying to be smooth, and I'm not. And I was like, oh, well, if you need to remember to have a meal, we could have a meal together.
Mhm.
And he goes, yeah. So I was like, got it? Okay, here's my stuff. Bye.
because to be fair, the tone that she just gave to you was the tone of it in the car. So it didn't read to me like being asked out. So then the next day, I was like, look, and then the next day also happened to be Valentine's Day. So I was like, you know what? Swing for the fence or don't swing at all. And I said, look, I know it's Valentine's Day and I know that can be weird and wonky, but like, do you want to go out? I think I actually had a date idea, but it didn't work. But like the timing wasn't right or whatever. But anyway, I asked her out and she said yes. Apparently you threw your phone.
You make people throw their phones so much.
I know it's a habit of mine. But yeah, so and I remember I was at the gym. I was like, you know what? This is a good time to do this. I'll send the text at the gym.
Your endorphins were pumping. You're like, oh, I got this.
Well, because then I was like, if I don't get a response right away, I'll be in the middle of something and it won't
Distracted.
like hit me real. I won't be sitting there just like no response. I'll be like,
actually a
well,
smart
screw it. I gotta do this set anyway. So
Yeah.
like, I think was my thinking.
And then you said,
But
"Ee!" And then you grab your phone. Wait, did you send the text and then throw your phone, or throw your phone and then send the text?
Good question.
First, I I think I threw my phone, and then I think I was like, just like, yes, but I have more to say, but just yes for your own sanity, basically.
Oh yeah, I gotta like almost immediate, because it was a hefty text. It was like, hey, like yada yada, I like
A
you.
statement of purpose.
A statement of purpose. Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't just
thesis
like,
statement.
hey, let's go to dinner tomorrow, even though it's Valentine's Day. It was like, because.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a 3-pronged thesis statement and everything. It said, I will elaborate with body paragraphs should you accept. But yeah, so yeah, right away I got like a pretty quick, like, the answer is yes. I have more to say, but I don't want to leave you hanging with 3 dots. So then I was like, all right. And then I worked out hard as hell.
He's like, I'm gonna get swole.
Yeah, like fueled on the success. Yeah, and then so then we became date mates or whatever. All various things our relationship has been described as by Tara.
Date.
I
mates.
love vocabulary.
Date mates.
That's so cute. And so
Yeah.
ever since that first date, you kind of were just hooked on each other and haven't looked back.
Yeah, I mean, well, this was also February of 2020.
Sure.
To be clear.
That's
So-
rough timing.
Yeah. So we had like an awesome flirty month in January. Started going out in February, had like a kick-ass month, and then the world just exploded.
Yeah.
But that there were pros and cons to that. Like there was some fun about like pretty much any time if we were like, oh, do you want to go do this, or like, do you want to go to the park, or do you want to come over, or whatever. We made a decision right away. Like, okay, well, we'll quarantine, together. Like we'll see each other. We'll make that part of the circle. So there was some fun aspects to that, even though, yeah, it did suck that we couldn't just go to dinner and see a movie.
For the first year of dating, Vinny, I remember, would tell people, like, I just can't wait to take Tara to the movies one day.
Yeah.
Aw.
All right, so then important question. What was the first movie that you went to go see in theaters together?
It was probably The Music Box. Or
Solid choice. Solid choice.
we are Music Box members. Over quarantine, we would like get popcorn
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Music Box because they did like a dinner date deal where they'd give you a giant bag of popcorn, like a laundry bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
and it'd come with like 2 boxes of candy and either soda or beer or wine. Because it was the only thing they could do over quarantine.
And they gave you a couple options too. You could watch your own movie, or they would they'd give you like streaming to new movies. It's
Cool.
like some,
Yeah.
but it's the Music Box. So sometimes it was like, here's a really avant-garde thing. Would you like to add that? We'd be like, we'll just watch, Peter Pan or whatever. Like, we're good.
Peter
We'll
Pan.
watch anything else other than that. Thank you. But sometimes I think we did it once because it was like something fun, and we were like, oh sure, we can stream that. We saw a movie
Like, I'm looking at my Google Calendar now.
in theater. We just like went to a movie.
On June 8th, 9:30 p.m. Cinema Paradiso.
Which was fun.
Was that the first one?
It might have been June 2021. Sounds like the first,
The beginning
the
of
beginning
going
of
Yeah,
going
yeah,
outside.
That's when the
So it
vax
might have
came
been-
out. Yeah. So you were date mates. When did you guys end up moving in together? Because that's hard to like.
Was
it's
it
a
still during
pandemic.
pandemic
Yeah.
times?
It was still
It was
during the pandemic.
2020.
2020.
2020. Was it still 2020?
We've been my of course in the pandemic my landlord decides, you know what, we're gonna jack your rent. And I was like, okay, so I need to move.
Sounds good.
And I didn't have a job. I didn't have I was not having any luck finding a job. So I was like, I have to move. So that was already kind of known like April, May 2020. I was like, well, I'm gonna have to move in the fall. And Tara's roommate was moving out, and trying to find I would say me trying to find an apartment was significantly easier than Tara trying to find a roommate.
Yeah. In COVID. Well,
in COVID.
Yeah.
I like did interviews and I was like just making myself anxious.
Yeah, and it was hard to like meet. You couldn't meet people,
Right.
Because this was
Right.
like literally peak, like time. So it was really hard. So we had a long conversation about it. Talked to all our friends. and our moms.
Aw.
And we're like, I think, you know what? Like, I think we should do this, and I think it'll be okay. If you haven't been able to tell from listening thus far, I approach things far too logically and with very little emotion and heart.
I made a list of questions that I made us talk through.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like,
But it
here's
was-
everything that we need to know to make sure that we're okay.
And we like set up, you know, we talked about it a lot extensively over like about 2 weeks. And then we were like, okay, like, I think we can do this. Which again, like make the big swing or don't swing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've lived together ever since. So obviously something's going on.
So what is an example of one of the questions, Tara?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were like, I did all the research of like what conversations do you need to have before you live with a significant other? Like, what are things that you should think about? And so some of them were like business, like, what do we do if we break up? Like, are we purchasing things together? Are we like, groceries? What's our plan for groceries? Like,
Sure.
how blah, 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 that kind of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
Very, every detail.
Yeah. There was such a good one. It was like, what is your, there was something about like, how do you respond to your need for alone time or whatever? And like, or like, what system should we put in place so that, you know, if one of us needs that, we can set that up. Which I was like, yeah, cool. Like, cause I'd lived alone at that point for like 6-7 years. So it was a big change for me to go back to living with other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially when you can't technically get alone time because you're not supposed to leave your house.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, so it's a sweet little 2-bed, which means if we're in a fight, we can go to 2 different beds.
Nice.
There you go.
Or if we just want to watch 2 different shows, but at the same time,
Yes.
we can go to 2 different rooms. That's
awesome.
usually what it is.
Yeah. It sounds like it worked out really well. That was smart of you
Yeah.
guys. Because obviously, I mean, I've heard the pandemic either made or break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I
For
trying to
sure.
say?
Made or broke.
Made or broke relationships. Nick and I had already been together 6 years at that point, right? In
Sure.
2020.
I don't remember.
And it was
Time is weird.
challenging. It was still like
Yeah.
very challenging for us, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It definitely had that. I mean, I think what was cool was like it forced us to confront things at a earlier stage in the
Yeah.
relationship.
But
Just-
also we got to have the honeymoon phase while we were not working.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, let's have a picnic and then walk for 4 miles.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Okay, bye.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's
well,
fantastic.
you got to be together all the time when you actually wanted to be together.
Yeah.
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 I didn't always want to be with you all the time at that point. We were way out of our honeymoon phase at that point.
I love you too.
Until your actual honeymoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I think that it's not uncommon, and it's not surprising, I guess, that it's not uncommon that you know, the pandemic has been a crucible, and like you said, it either made or broke. And all the people that we've had on our podcast, for example, that even as we get further and further away from like true 2020 pandemic times,
Right.
people who met each other at, around, or during that, it kind of either very quickly did not work or
Yeah.
they're pretty solid in their relationship. And so I'm curious because, and you all don't have to get into this too much if you don't want to, but you kind of talked about how maybe, you know, your partners, or like the word boyfriend, girlfriend doesn't seem like enough, your roommates. Is it just that it's titles, or is it sort of like you all just maybe have a philosophy that you don't want to personally get married, but you know that you're committed to each other for life? What's the deal there?
I think part of it is titles. We will one day marriage. But no, I think it's just like vocabulary. I don't know.
Okay.
I think the word like girlfriend, boyfriend feels juvenile for
Sure.
what the relationship is. And like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that. Like, it is a weird shit. Like it feels very like high school. And when you're, you know, 30. It just seems it seems weird to be like, this is my girlfriend. You're like, that's weird. And maybe that's because we grew up in a generation where like, if you were 30, you were probably married. So like for like our parents' generation or whatever, that like that status it feels a little wonky. And now that's a significantly more common relationship. People are getting married later or not at all and staying in sort of a committed couple dedicated to each other relationship, but not necessarily marriage. So I think maybe that's just a phrasing. And like, yeah, we've got a neighbor just yelling at a dog.
I was going to ask if it was a TV on or something.
Yeah, what is happening?
No, this is our neighbor who's full volume, incredible person. Do you want to pause?
No, that's fine. It's not distracting enough, and it like, I mean, who knows how long it'll last, right? So
it'll be constant.
Perfect.
But yeah, I think it really like the titles is a piece of it, but I think it's just finding the right word is tough. And like partner is to an extent sometimes that word, but partner also has like weird like cop context or like,
I think
business partner context.
Or just like I don't want to like claim something from like the gay community that is like a very like this is the only word that for a long time people were allowed to use, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
So when you
but
get
partner is also kind of a fun.
Yeah. Howdy, partner.
Howdy, partner.
When you eventually marriage, as you said, Tara, will you say husband and wife? Will you say that's my hubs?
Oh, I will say my wife.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
that. Dude, I do that too. My wife.
It is the best. It is one of the top 3 reasons to get married.
Legit.
It's like the tax stuff, being able to say my wife.
And love.
And then love.
And love. Yeah, love. That's probably number 3 for me.
But as we were just establishing, the love can be there without the marriage. I mean, the marriage is really just a legal contract about it. So
yeah.
And you can have a party.
It is.
There you go.
It's a nice excuse to get a lot of money.
Get a lot of money.
You got to pay a lot of money too.
I was going to say.
But Vinny's Italian.
He's like, I'm Italian. I'm only thinking
That's
about
right.
one thing.
You're going to get the envelopes with and the bags, right?
Yeah, baby. Yep.
Dude, we went to one of my best friends married a very Italian, a Catazzoni, and we went to their Italian wedding. My south side came out real bad. And they had a wedding singer during dinner. His name was, what was it? Nino Pacino?
Oh my God.
Frankie Pachanki?
God.
I mean, it was something like that. It was something like that.
They also ordered 250 mini cannolis. I didn't get a single one. People were like, oh my God. It was the most Italian, like, big, extravagant wedding I've ever been to.
It was.
Pretty sad about the cannolis. But they had funfetti cake as a wedding cake. So, I mean, if you guys are ever thinking about that stuff, it worked.
And
mini cannolis.
I was going to say,
definitely
mini
more
cannolis
of
and
them
Nino Pacino.
I can get Nino Pacino's contact information for you.
Thank you, please.
Oh, I don't need his contact info. We go way back.
So, I guess, let me ask you guys, you always seem so happy and you like each other a lot. Do you ever, like, fight about things, and, like, how do you all navigate those fights? And you don't have to say anything. You can say, fuck you, Danny, and then we'll move on.
Most of our fights are over stupid stuff.
There's not I mean, we don't really fight very much. And, like, I don't know. When I think of fights, I think of, like, petty school arguments or things like this. I don't know.
And I think of fist fights.
So we only get in fist fights on holidays.
We really tentpole the types of fights you can
because
have.
Italian, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've noticed when I'm mad, I'm a stomp around banging stuff and kicking stuff and that sort of thing. So sometimes for me, I think Tara's just like, yeah, you do that for 2 minutes and then you'll be worn out and then you'll come back and be like, all right, fine, we can talk about whatever it is. Like, I just need that cycle of like, no, I'm gonna kick this thing.
All right.
For a second. But yeah, but again, most of our fights are over stupid stuff where like or their misplaced anger at the state of the
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
That's
So
fair.
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't actually care whether we do the dishes tonight or not. I'm just actually really pissed because this bullshit happened today and in our world.
Yeah.
And I've re-put it that way. And so just, and for me, that's taking the second to go kick some shit and then come back and be like, yeah, I wasn't actually angry about any of that. I'm angry about this crap. So I'm sorry. And, let's figure it out, whatever.
Nice. And Tara, how about you? When you get so mad at Uncle Vinny, what do you do?
I don't know. I'm like, have I ever been mad before?
I've never seen you not smile.
Have I been mad at you? I can't remember.
Your mad is so like lawyer mad. Target's very like lawyery, where it's like, and let me break down all the little like minutiae about how you're wrong. And I think the problem is that because I've gone and kicked shit, so she's coming at me with this, and I'm like, you're right. And so it's like a really dissatisfying. If you watched it in a movie, it would be the most dissatisfying argument. Because it's like, let me confront you, and I'm just like, yeah, you're right, that was stupid, or like whatever. So it's also why we're bad at being competitive, because Tara's very competitive, and I'm very like, you can win, it's okay.
Except for no. Okay. Because
here's a fight. Yes.
no.
Fight.
He says, "Oh, you can win every single time we play a board game." Vinny always wins.
It's because I don't care. I don't care to win, so then
You can win.
I win.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I totally relate with
Thanks
the stupid fights though. Like truly yesterday,
Yeah.
Nick and I got into a fight because I asked I'm gonna say this out loud, it's gonna sound so dumb. I asked him to look at the ceiling in a wrong way. The context around that is it's so dumb. You guys know our house is falling apart, right?
Uh-huh.
There was more evidence of that on the ceiling above the shower, and I was like, can you come look at something? And that made him mad the way I said that.
You're playing me real dirty there, the way you're phrasing this, but I'll let it lie. I will say, because that leads into what is true of that fight, but is also true, I think, of a lot of fights. I really genuinely, I realize this is like a basic therapeutic thing, psychology, displaced aggression. But Vinny, your point to most fights actually just being about you being angry at something that has nothing to do with what's happening in the moment with the fight.
Yeah.
I 1,000% agree with that. I would say 99 out of 100 of our fights, there's at least some kernel of truth to that, if not entirely. And in that example, you mentioned our house is kind of falling apart. Like, just anything having to do with the house whatsoever is already going to put me on like edge. And so, then I'm sensitive to how that information was presented to me. So
Yeah. Like the other day, we actually screamed at each other, but not at each other, just like into the universe, pointed at each other because our garage burnt down, and we were on the phone with the cops.
we're in New Jersey, not anywhere near
and
our
I was
garage.
like, what's happening? And he was like, I don't know. And it was like, we were looking at each other screaming.
Yeah.
But then once we calmed down, we were like, that was not at you. Yeah, I understand. My bad.
Yeah.
We've had that a couple times where it's like, we get really worked up. We're like, this isn't about you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just yelling right now. That's a me thing.
That's a Vinny,
it's being
like,
Italian.
I think like I internalize a lot. Like if I'm having a feeling, unless it's like happiness, I don't know. I'll like internalize it and think about it and sit with it. And like Vinny is like, I'm gonna like talk about how mad I am like right now. Like I don't know. So it takes like the processing time and the communication of it is like I think the thing that we bump into the most. And it's like we've never had like a serious fight like about anything. Like I don't think there's ever been anything that's like, all right, this is make or break. Like it's always something silly.
I've never gambled away our entire fortune. But
it's like it's when if we do get I don't know if it's usually like an argument about like what the expectation about something that wasn't communicated on your or my behalf. Like it's like something that we're like, oh,
I thought you were going to do this. I thought you said you were, or I misunderstood.
Or I thought this was what today was, or I thought this was like the plan, and like it's just like, oh, we just should have communicated, but instead, like it's like now we're frustrated, and then like I think it's like, okay, the frustration can like that can be a fight, but it's more like, oh, we both want the same thing, and that's often the end of it is like, we're on the same side and we want the same thing.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this volume is not yelling. It's you will. It will be a very distinct difference when I tell.
I think to me, I'm like, anytime anybody is angry, I'm like, they're yelling. It's yelling. I'm like, I can tell you're mad. And even if you're speaking like this, it means you're yelling. So
I feel that.
sensitive.
Oh, you are a sensitive soul.
Yeah.
So on that note, then what advice do you have for other people who are in insert word here.
Various stages of relationship.
Yeah.
Who are roommates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you gotta tell them?
For just like about like fights or about
Just in general, how to
Life.
make
How do you make it work?
relationship, succeed.
Make it work.
Make it work.
I would say like a lot of it, at least for us, like a lot of our fights come from a place of like either not listening or not communicating. And sometimes or having a different style in which we do those things. So learning your partner's style of communication so that you can pick up on the difference. And so if you need more specific clarity, because it's not meshing with the way that you want to receive information or the way that you want to give it yourself, you can sort of find the way, you start to learn, okay, you're going to give me information in this way. And I either have learned to know what that means, or if I don't for this specific instance, I know the way I need to receive information, so I can ask you to give it to me in that way.
Mhm.
And I think at least like most of our fights have come about because of misunderstanding on that front. I think it's also fun too. Like, it's not just like, oh, that'll save you from the bad, but I think to learn the way that someone thinks and communicates and does stuff is like half the joy of being in especially a romantic relationship, right? It's more fun than just like learning that about your friend, because like at the end of the day you're like, well, like I just need to know if we're gonna be there at 7 or we're gonna be there at 8, right? Like that's like so like it's less fun and important or whatever, but especially from someone who you're this deeply invested in, like I think is important and fun to learn that about them and to see the way that they're viewing the world and the ways that it Venn diagrams with yours and the ways that it's disparate from yours.
Yeah.
And that can be fun. I mean, there's so many things that we're the opposites on and so many things that we're similar on. And it's like both of those are super fun to be in and to see and to be like, I'm going to share with you, it's like the movie thing. I'm going to share with you something that's outside of your realm and I'm going to bring you into mine and it's going to be really cool. Or like, oh my God, you love that too? Amazing. We'll do that together. Like, that's so fun.
Learning.
So yeah.
I think also like the team thing that I kind of said earlier is like, you are on the same team. You're both like working toward the same goal. I mean, depending on what kind of relationship you have, like, hopefully you've expressed your boundaries of what kind of relationship you have. Like if you've got future goals together, that kind of thing, you are on the same team working toward those goals. Or if your general goal is just like, we want to be happy and hanging out, like, great. I think anytime anybody is in a fight and it's just like, I mean, okay, back to incest. Like, I'm an only child, so this is coming from observation, but I think like a lot of times when siblings fight, it's kind of like they're gonna fight, but they're still gonna be they're still siblings at the end of the day. And if there's, a pizza later, they're gonna eat it, and like it's like the world hasn't ended because they've had a fight. And I think on the same level with a relationship is like, if you're going to have a fight, like that doesn't mean everything is over. Like that means like, it's an opportunity to learn, like you said, but also like at the end of the day, you're still on the same team. Like I said, you're going to like, you're not actually going against each other. The problem is probably not like, the problem is usually communication or whatever. It's not like inherently the other person is
right,
evil and bad and everything is terrible.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be in a relationship with that
Exactly.
problem.
Right. Or you need to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang, that was good stuff.
yeah.
I really like
both of those were very deep.
You gave us time to think about it.
Vinny, I really like what you said about, I think a lot of times people can get jaded in relationships and forget that it is supposed to be fun to be with the other person. So just like switching your lens to be like, okay, it's really annoying that you're different, to, oh, it's fun that you're different, and how do we like work together? And that's really awesome. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you find fun stuff that way. Stuff you'd never find before.
You guys are also just fun people, so I imagine that's what your whole relationship is
Same, dogs. Same
like.
to you, brother.
All right. Well, should we let things go for a break then, and then come back to talk about the movie?
Yeah, what movie are we talking about, guys?
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Couldn't have said it better.
We'll be back after this commercial break. In love with movies. Da-da-da.
And we're back.
You didn't wait for me.
You were not ready for it. I was just looking at you.
And we're back. All right.
Okay, now you got to do it without me. There you go.
And we're back.
Vinny?
Vinny.
Oh shit, we're back.
All right, welcome back, movie lovers. This is the portion of the podcast where we talk about the actual movie that were chosen for us. And today, for those of you who just skipped ahead to this section and maybe didn't
For those
read
of
the
you who
title,
don't like love.
we do have some listeners that intentionally only go to the movie review. I know that for a fact. But we're covering Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Oh, cute little kitty. It's 2003 movie. It was a huge Oscar winner. Lots of people, if you were around when this movie came out, and perhaps since this movie came out, you've probably heard of it one way or t'other. It is, of course, based upon the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. It was directed by Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
Our cat is over in the other corner of the room, also being cute. It's like almost like he thinks he knows there's a cat on the other end. But it was written, and this is, I did not necessarily know this. I didn't realize Peter Jackson wrote this. One of his writing partners is his wife, and
Yes.
she's a writing partner for a lot of the stuff that he does.
Does she
along
have
with
It's a
name?
love story.
it is a love story. Yes, Fran Walsh.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Fran Walsh is his wife, and then they have another Philippa Boyens, I think is how that's pronounced, is someone who also seems to write with them a lot. They were, including King Kong and a bunch of other stuff that's been good and bad for him. I feel like the composer deserves a shout out, Howard Shore, because, I mean, come on. With this music. Music is one of the 11 Oscars that this movie won. It was nominated for 11 Oscars. It won all 11 Oscars that it was
Damn.
nominated for.
Damn.
That makes it tie with Titanic and Ben-Hur for the most movies any Oscar has ever won. Or any movie. Yeah. Did I say that right? Most movies? Anyway. People understand what I'm saying.
We get it. We get it.
We got you.
I will note that there was not any acting Oscars. I'm sure we will talk a little bit about some of that, whether that was good or bad or whether that was fair. But it did win like all the big three, like writing, directing, movie of the year. Bless you.
Sorry.
Speaking of the actors, it stars Elijah Wood. I know Elijah from North and Sin City. Anybody,
He was in other things.
Yes, Elijah Wood.
Wilfred, dude. Wilfred.
Yeah, oh my God, yes, that TV show on FX. I forgot about that. Yes, it was a good one.
Wow. I didn't know he did a single other thing.
He was actually probably the biggest name for this movie when they first started coming out.
At the
Danny,
time.
Have you seen Over the Garden Wall?
No. What that?
You haven't seen Over the Garden Wall? Put it on your list. It's not a movie. It's a short series. Watch it in the fall, and it will give you all the fall vibes. The main character is voiced by Elijah Wood.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll watch it.
Excellent.
We need more TV to watch.
We do need more TV to watch. We've
And
been
there's
running
only
out.
going to be less because the strike.
Get that money. Get that fair pay.
Yeah, now that
I
there's a
am-
strike, we'll be able to catch up on all TV. Every show that's out there.
We actually need the strike to last for a
Dance, Nick.
full 12 to 24 months. Like,
So that you don't die with this TV not on your to-do list.
it was
through that to-do list.
this movie also stars Viggo Mortensen, who is the eponymous
Ow!
king who returns, who also
Whoa,
is
spoiler
known for being the sexual awakening of a number of people of our generation. Ian McKellen, Sir Ian McKellen. I mispronounced that funnily. Magneto. That's where I know him from. Magneto in the X-Men movies. He's also a phenomenal Shakespearean actor and a lot of other great things, but I'm just trying to go for what our people know. Orlando Bloom, pretty much.
You're one or the other, I think. Or the Viggo Mortensen or the Orlando Bloom.
I was the Orlando Bloom until, I don't know, college, and then
Then you're like, oh, that's
you wanted
a real
the pretty
man.
boy, and then you wanted the
Look where
real
we're-
man after. Okay, yes.
Understood. Yeah.
Sean Astin, who plays
Yeah. Bob.
he's Bob from
Oh.
Stranger Things.
Oh, from
yes.
Stranger Things, yes.
He's also
The
very
Goonies.
famous for Rudy and Goonies. Yes.
Rudy.
I was gonna say he plays Samwise Gamgee, not Bilbo Baggins. That will come up later, ladies and gentlemen.
Oops.
Ian Holmes
Uh-oh.
plays Bilbo Baggins, and he
Yeah.
also was. I know him from The Fifth Element. Did you guys ever see The Fifth Element?
Yes, dude. What
Yes.
a psycho movie.
That movie is something.
Multipass.
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 And then the last but not least that I will specifically mention is John Rhys Davies, who is known from Indiana Jones, and you would know him from The Princess Diaries too,
Oh, yes.
which we also
What?
watched
Oh, he
the
was the
same
bad-
week.
The bad
He's the-
uncle.
he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Spoilers, he's the bad guy in that one.
Wait, who does he play in this one?
He plays Gimli, the dwarf,
Okay.
the guy who's always fighting and competing
I'm
alongside
wasted
Orlando
on long
Bloom.
distance.
Okay. Oh, yes.
There you
yes,
go.
yes.
Yes,
Got it.
yes.
I would like to point out there are no women on this list.
I was going to point that out as well, and I would defend myself in that I think it's because there are no solid female characters, unfortunately, minus Liv Tyler, who I knew I would always remember, but she doesn't given anything to do, and I think I have not read the books, but I understand that perhaps those characters are also not given much to do in the books.
Or not in it at all.
Damn, JRR.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
It's the biggest glaring flaw in the movie is
That
its
and,
lack
like-
of absolute diversity in any way.
Oh, I had a hardcore
Like-
note about that.
We have a whole magical world where you can create anybody, and they're all white dudes.
White.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe
Yeah.
this is not. Ugh. It's actually worse because there are people of color in it, but they're all people who they have masks on the whole movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I felt a little
And they're
icky about
also
it.
the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
like the witch guy,
Yes.
the dragon riding guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure we can get deeper into that because we definitely also like noticed that about halfway through the movie, and then we're like, holy shit, yeah. And I'm almost offended at myself for not having made bigger note of it sooner because it is glaringly obvious.
Even
Yeah,
there are
it's pretty bad.
7 million armies in this movie. Why are they not different colors in the armies? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways.
it's bad.
The sad thing you realize that people just like, well, I should say privileged white people like myself were just not noticing 20 years ago.
Well,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
back in the day, I don't think people were even talking about it. You know.
But with that,
This is such a dark podcast episode.
I say we get to Danny's Dingles so we can get to the
Oh.
larger conversation with our love stories.
Okay.
Jingle it up.
All right, here we go.
Time for Danny's Dingle.
Okay, I want to preface this one by saying this is a long ass movie and I already forgot what it was about. Okay. Smeagol. Deagle. One Ring. Murder? Bilbo and Frodo on the way home. Oh, no. Sam and Frodo are on their way home. A dragon? Is there a dragon? Smeagol? Nasty. What is this glowing ball? A burning tree? An evil white? Gandor. Bromir. Aragon. Witch King. Did I say Mordor?
You had not said Mordor yet, no.
A spider? Oh my god. Smeagol is a little rat. The sandwiches? Rude. Frodo? Sucks. Army of the Dead? How fight? Frodo always be dying. Mad Max on elephants?
Yes.
I am no man. Oh, there was a woman in it.
Yes. Miranda
hashtag-
Otto.
Win.
Cancel Frodo. 30 more minutes? What the fuck? 73 endings. Frodo leaves. Ding.
Yay.
And you didn't even talk about the title.
Yeah.
I didn't mention mostly anyone.
Literally.
Except for Frodo.
He got a mispronunciation of his name. That was it.
That was it. I love that Frodo sucks and Frodo always be dying basically sums up
Yeah.
the
Okay.
entire lore of Lord of the
I
Rings.
hate Frodo. I've decided. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Frodo
He's-
sucks.
He is the
He's the
absolute
worst.
worst in this particular film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
I have some notes on that.
Surprisingly, he didn't get nominated for Best Actor.
Well, it wasn't even about that. No, at least that's not what my notes were. Well, so that's Danny's dingle. That might be the least informative and close to the actual points of the movie.
This is a long movie. I don't know if you knew that.
That was fantastic. Danielle, unsurprising everyone, quickly give us your love story with this movie.
Okay, so this was actually the first time I've seen the whole thing where I paid attention. Every year, Nick and I, it's a new tradition on New Year's Day where everyone's hungover. We go to our friend's house and watch all 3 extended versions.
Yeah.
Hobbit
of
Day.
Yeah, and we eat Hobbit food and
And we have breakfast and second
Yeah.
breakfast and elevensies
Yeah.
and lunch and luncheon and supper and dinner.
yeah. But Nick has allowed me to only pay attention to one film at a time, so I've never actually paid attention to the third one. But I do want to say, growing up, a 90s baby in the early 2000s, Lord of the Rings, when it came out, was truly everywhere. Like, remember the
Yeah.
McDonald's cups?
Yeah, we still have some.
Yeah. And my brother's gerbil. His gerbil's name was Smeagol.
Oh, I didn't know
And I
that.
didn't understand. And it's because he had one eye and half a tail. His tail fell off. And I was like, why would you call him Smeagol? But it's because Smeagol's nasty.
Yeah.
And he's coming apart.
Smeagol's
Aw.
nasty.
Yeah. That's my story.
So I was friends with and amongst, and I think my brother was probably bigger into it than me because I know he read the books and I never did, other than The Hobbit. So yeah, my love story is I'm sure I went to go see this in theaters, I think, although I don't have a specific memory, and this may have been the one where I was like, that's too long, and just waited for it to come home. But I've enjoyed it many times since then. I have enjoyed the extended edition with friends, etc. and so forth. But we know that Vinny and Tara's love story with this movie is going to be more interesting because they picked it. But I have genuinely no idea what it is yet. So please enlighten us. What is your love story with this movie?
I think we both have like childhood/teenhood relationships to the movie and the series in general. My cool teen neighbor growing up had a binder with the clear front, how you can put like pieces of paper in it. She had Orlando Bloom in that binder, and I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was the beginning of like, oh, Orlando Bloom. Oh, Lord of the Rings, Orlando Bloom. Okay. And like Orlando Bloom, then Pirates happened, and it was like, yeah, Orlando Bloom can do no wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then I think I didn't see the extended version until probably college or something like that, and then I got him on DVD when I moved to Chicago, and it was just kind of a comfort film.
A film of exponential war
I mean,
deep travesty.
I mean, all of them. The
but it is
series
like
a comfort series.
Yeah, the good guys win, so that's definitely automatic.
The music is beautiful.
Oh.
The people,
you can put it on and not think about it too much.
It's just such a good. It's like the world building is so exciting.
Yeah.
I saw the internet is just being like really popular
Sure.
in 1999, and there is a weird link that starts playing at the bottom of movie trailers to go to this website, and it's basically just like Lord of the Rings is happening. Like, it is this website where basically there's no info on it that just says like Lord of the Rings has been cast and is filming, and you should check it out. And I had read The Hobbit when I was 8, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna read Lord of the Rings, and I was like 11, and it was so over my head. But I was like, I got this. Like, I didn't understand half the words, but I got it when like I got the storyline. And so I was really into it. And then of course, Lord of the Rings comes out, and all my cousins and my brother were all within about a 6-year age span.
Okay.
And I'm close to the middle, a little bit towards the older side. My brother is the youngest. So there was I think my oldest cousin was probably like 13, 14, and my brother was 8 or 9. And we were like, okay, we're all going to see Lord of the Rings. It also came out over Christmas. My birthday happens to be a couple days before Christmas. So it was always like a birthday celebration for me of like, we're going to go see Lord of the Rings. I saw each of the movies individually probably a dozen times.
Oh my god.
Yes.
In theaters. I was obsessed. And part of this is like, right, you're hanging out with all these boys. You all wish you were as cool as even Frodo is. Like, Frodo is so much cooler than you. And Frodo's lame as shit. And you're like, I just want to be in this. Like, you're losing your mind. We're doing Lord of the Rings trivia on the internet that just came out. We're like, what is like, we're like obsessed for the next decade, from basically 99 when it starts happening through all my high school years. I'm obsessed. It's a big deal. My dad, I remember, comes home one day and he's just looking at me, and I'm like, what is up? And he pulls out from behind his back the extended edition, which we had heard was happening, but we didn't have yet. He's like, I found it.
I've got
it. And it's like 8:00 at night, and we're like, fuck it, put it in. Like, we're gonna watch this movie right now. Like, yeah, just so much like obsession with the books, obsession. I had the action figures. I went as every character every year for Halloween. Like, just absolutely obsessed with this. And so, like a month into dating Tara, when I am here and I see on the shelf the Lord of the Rings extended edition DVDs, I'm like, are these yours? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, all right, well, we could get married right now. Like, this is everything I've ever wanted in a person. But then, so yeah, I think to your point, it did become a comfort thing, especially during the pandemic. It was a thing where we could like put it on, we could watch it, or we could do other things. I think we put it on once to clean, and I couldn't do it. You just was sitting there like this. So, like, she's like, you gotta do stuff.
Putting it on as background noise is a thing that is more recent, because I think we were like, it's clean day, we should put this on the back, whatever, and then ended up watching it.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, it was more like a ritual of like, we would build a blanket for, and like, get all the snacks, and like, we are embarking on a 11.5-hour journey of all 3 extended edition DVDs. So we need to get, popcorn, we need to get all the things.
Yeah.
So it was like, we did that a few times throughout the pandemic and afterward, of just like, what would heal our hearts right now? Or like, let's escape into this magical world and like just jump in. And it's like you're returning to the characters, and like seeing every single time you watch the third one, every single time you still feel anxious and angry at Smeagol, and when he's like gaslighting them, like all of these things, they always make you feel these feelings every time you watch them. And it's like,
well, and we picked this one specifically because this one we've seen together in theaters a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So we went to the Music Box and saw it was an all-day marathon, but we couldn't do the one that we could do was the Return of the King, and it was the theatrical cut, which was so weird because we've been watching almost like every 2 months, like the extended cut. So then we watched the theatrical cut, and we were like, "But isn't there a part where like this happens?" I mean, could not. Felt like we were being tricked.
There's so much in the of the 3. I think the one that deserves the extended cut the most is the third.
Yeah.
Because it just has. It has so much information, and it's not just like, here's information. It's like it's like more world building and more like
there's like whole like 5-minute sequences.
There's
missing.
more Miranda Otto. There's more like a lot of the things when you watch it without the extended cut, you're like, why is Miranda Otto holding Faramir's hand right
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
like, I
like,
don't understand.
makes
Because
no
there's a
sense.
30-second little moment where they are both angstily like looking out an archway, and then they look at each other and they're like, oh.
She legit
Like-
asked at the end, she's like, wait, isn't that the, but you
Yeah.
said she.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on.
It's missing stuff. It for sure is missing
Soup!
stuff.
Soup! There's
The
no soup.
Oh, the soup.
Miranda's
Uh,
singing. It's just they cut out all of Miranda Otto's
What
parts.
the
I think.
Yeah, so
But
to make
the-
matters worse is what we were talking about earlier.
cut
with
out the
the
woman.
diversity, the parts they
Yeah.
cut.
I mean, well, and part of it is like the movie makes sense without her parts because the female characters were not written to be like necessary to the plot, you know.
Right.
Besides, I am no man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Is that a moment
And
in the
I'll never
books?
forget
Sorry.
this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is that a moment in the books?
Yo, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, because that's powerful. Anyway, what were you gonna say, Vinny?
I'll never forget this theatrical experience because we're in a theater. It's Music Box, which if you've never been, do yourself a favor, go see anything there, but particularly go see a movie that's already been released because people come out, they're dressed up, they shout things at the screen, they do all sorts of stuff.
so
But
fun.
so there's a part where Theoden, one of the kings, when he's prepping for a charge, and it's maybe the greatest charge I've ever. It's an incredible speech, but also he just screams death, and then the whole army screams death, which is maybe the scariest thing you can scream before charging another army. But he screams death. The entire theater uproariously goes death, and they charge. And I was like, that was the coolest moment of theater experience I've ever had. It's just
Aw.
hundreds of people I do not know going death.
So beautiful.
I love
A couple
that.
months ago, we saw it at
It was
Webster?
the
Regal Webster was doing the extended.
the extended edition for the 20th anniversary because the movie is 20
Oh, yeah.
years old.
Yep.
And so we were like, oh shit, I guess we have to go.
And
Even
for some
though
reason,
it'll start, it was like 7:30, and we were like, we're not even gonna get out of this movie until midnight. You know what? Fine. We'll go. Like,
for some reason, I don't know what I was thinking. We picked the front row, and
oh, because it was sold. It was sold out.
it was
Oh.
so
And
yeah.
so there were
They
two
were like
seats
the
in the front.
big.
We
It was
took
the
it.
big recliner seats,
Okay.
and
Well, yeah.
and so that was nice. But it was front row, and it was very like, oh my god, like
Just a
right,
lot,
right
yeah.
up in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of orc blood just.
So,
Yeah.
do you think in the future, if/when you have a wedding, will Lord of the Rings be tied into that in some way? Tara said yeah.
maybe.
Probably. I mean, like probably in some way. I think there's like two ways that you can incorporate fan nerdy things into your wedding. And one of them is like in an obvious way, and another is like a nod to, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like you have to figure out what line you want to walk.
Are-
And either both are valid and sick and awesome.
Our
You
cake
have to figure
topper.
out what the vibe is your.
Yeah.
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 Our cake topper was Star Wars. It was
Yeah,
just said,
exactly.
I
So-
love you, I know, but like glitter, so you know.
Yeah.
So it's bridal if it's got glitter.
Exactly.
Well, and most
I
of the
think
way that the
100%.
text was on there, most people didn't even realize there was text. Especially like I think the "I love you" was more obvious, and then the "I know" was a little more subtle, and so it just looked like the silhouette of Han and Leia looked like a silhouette
Aw.
of a couple. So
Yeah.
That's really cool. And that's like the subtle nod. I think definitely in that way. But I mean, I don't think I'm gonna like not wear shoes and like, have like Aragorn's audio clip of him singing at the end play me into the walking down the
Yes.
aisle.
Yes.
Or
Although that is pretty fucking
Yeah.
sick.
I mean, now that you think about it.
amazing.
This movie
Yeah.
is very long but very good. The one thing I kept writing it down over and over and over again is how visually stunning this
Yeah.
movie is. And we were just talking about how it's 20 years old too. And it legit every scene that CG, even the ones that are not great, hold up better than
Yeah.
movies that I just saw. Like I literally earlier today saw Indiana Jones. There are
The new one.
moments in that movie that do not hold up as well as like Schmeagol, for example, which was
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
first time doing it. Or, you know, the last time I saw a movie with a giant dragon, it looks more cartoony than the dragons look like in this movie 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the way, and like, this is gonna get like so nerdy and douchey, but
Love
like,
Nerdy
but
and douchey.
yeah, nerdy and douchey. I mean, so they made all 3 movies at the same time.
When I learned
over
that blew my mind.
Isn't
yeah,
it? That's
and it took them 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Like filming
Filming.
for a year, and then pre and post like a whole another year, and then post production obviously for the latter 2 movies even
Just
longer.
continued, yeah.
So it's such a good blend of visual and practical effects.
Yes.
And I think because we don't take the time to make movies like that anymore, which is for a myriad of reasons, but I think we really don't do that in that way anymore.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think, and that's why I think it holds up, is because they took the time to look at the CG and mirror it with the practical, rather than like, we got to churn this thing out in 4 months. It just has to get done, whether it looks great or not. And I think that's because every time I watch it, I'm like, how is this movie this old? And at like, not at a good CG time. If you watch other movies from the late 90s, early 2000s, like that Mortal Kombat movie, the old one, like, is terrible CG.
I think
And
even
it's
The
like, how did
Matrix
we-
might have come out like in 2004, like the third one, the
third one, yeah,
was, like around
And
the
it's
same time, and it's awful.
not
Awful.
great. Like,
So
it's so weird. And I think it's just because they were like, you know what, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take however long we need, and we're gonna make it happen.
yeah,
do it right.
they did
Yeah.
do it right. If they won all those awards,
And I was and a
Yes.
lot of them were for costuming
Yeah.
and visual effects and
Visual
editing
effects,
and
sound.
I wrote that.
I actually know the guy that won he was on the sound team.
Really?
I used to do improv with him.
No
He won.
shit.
Yeah.
People,
Barely.
yeah.
Well, like, and it was not like extensively. We're not like best friends or anything, but like we did improv. We did a couple of shows together, and it was like, oh, share a fun fact. And he was like, I have won an Academy Award for sound for Lord of the Rings.
That's
I was
amazing.
like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah.
See, improv gets you places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
I hosted a comedy sports game with the 4 Hobbits at Fan
Yes!
Expo last year because of
did?
improv.
Wait,
She met all 4 of
the
them.
actor. Hold on. Wait. Stop.
You met Frodo?
Yeah.
Did you tell me sucks?
No, he was actually so nice. He was
He was probably the nicest one, I think.
And he looks
Yeah.
exactly the same, right?
the least nice person there was Sean Astin, but I think it was
No.
because he had COVID and he
Oh.
didn't know until literally that night. He like posted, he was like, I'm so sorry, Instagram, I have COVID. I can't be here
Yikes.
for the rest of the. It's like, yeah, he was probably completely exhausted. But
Oh my god, that's so
and by
cool.
least nice, I mean he didn't shake my hand.
Which, in retrospect,
Thank you, Sean, for not shaking my hand.
Amazing. That's so cool.
that is very cool.
Yeah, I wrote a
was
note
just
that
joyous and very excited.
that's amazing. They always make it look like when Gandalf was on screen, he's always glowing. Like,
Yeah,
it's just like
Mhm.
visually beautiful.
and it's but I think a
It's
lot.
the light of the Eldar.
And I think they did a lot of. I could be wrong, but I think nowadays they would just do all of that in post. They like basically wouldn't bother. They would do a filter on it, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
use some filters and some VFX. But I think to Vinny's point, they also probably on the day, like Peter Jackson is enough of a fan. He was going into it being like, he has to always look like he's lit because he's got the light of the Eldar. You know what I mean? And
Lit.
so
Right.
I'm sure they played with the lighting on the day.
Yeah, I have
For
an
sure.
Just
actual question.
All sorts of stuff like that.
Like,
Oh, go ahead, Danny.
this is probably dumb because I don't know a lot of things. Like, I did think The Martian, is that what it's called? Was based on a true story. So I have a lot of dumb questions about film. Do you think that all of because it looks so real, like, were all the armies, like, how many people do you think they cast as extras to have?
This
In
is
the
a
armies.
this is a big thing. This
This
is
is a
like
big thing.
a fun trivia fact
Tell us.
about Lord of the Rings. They did cast a lot of like it was all local people, like a lot of extras for Army, but they used digital, like the first software that was developed to create like basically cloning of people.
The software that they used first in A Bug's Life and Rescuers Down Under, which basically allowed them to create crowd scenes
Uh-huh.
by taking an animated thing and redoing it. So what they did was they took a real army of a couple hundred people and they were able to, using the CGI, rearrange them and make slight tweaks to their look so that it looks like a fully fleshed out army, but it's just the same couple hundred people rotated in a bunch of different ways.
So cool.
Yes, so they're using the real image, the actual armor that these people are wearing with the actual swords and the helmets and all that, and the real human being that's either in the orc makeup or in there, but then they've multiplied it by a bajillion to make these sweeping, 100,000 people army.
Yeah. Hundreds of people in general is a lot to have as
Yeah.
extras.
Yeah.
There's a lot of costumes and a lot of horses and a lot of
There's was Helm's Deep into
This is the second one,
the
yeah.
second one.
Yeah.
In the second film, there's a big battle called the Battle of Helm's Deep, and it's like pouring rain. It took like a weeks to film. Every single extra and every single actor who was in that scene got a shirt from the production company that says, or from probably Peter Jackson, that says, "I survived Helm's Deep." And it's like, it's so.
It was like a 30-day shoot.
My gosh.
And they had to, every time, because it was raining, so they had to, it was like, okay, we're just in a fake rain all night. It was a night only shoot because it all takes place at night. It was just a miserable experience, I'm sure, but man, does it look cool.
Yeah, you can tell they're very committed to making this movie, like you said, Tara, like a world. It's not just like, here's a story. It's here's a world that's in it. I will say the story this one is just war. It is just a lot of battles.
Yeah.
So this is another extended edition thing, is a lot of the things that are cut that are in the extended edition are Arwen moments. It's not just the women, but it's also like, here's the story behind what's going on with like Merry and Pippin here's what's going on with like this couple, here's what's going on with this couple, here's what's going on in the behind the scenes of this. So I think it's like little bits of story that are only important to the nerds and not necessarily to the main plot line.
Yeah, so it occurs to me too, this is a great segue. Have either of you seen Lawrence of Arabia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
We saw it at the music
yes,
box.
yes.
There you go. So Lawrence of Arabia is also like, it was a stunning movie. It won a lot of stuff for visual effects. But I had it on my list for years as one that was like sort of movie buff, got to see it sometime. It was one of the first movies that ever, like, it straight up in the middle of the movie has an intermission. Like a curtain comes down for the film and is like, this is the intermission, because it's like 4+ hours long.
It's a very long movie.
I think it's 4 hours and like 15 minutes or something.
I was gonna say, I think it's the length of the extended cut. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But when I watched it, I remember being able to watch it and I'm like respecting what's happening and the visuals and the feats that are being accomplished. But for me, not having been someone who was alive when the movie came out, I do not have any sort of nostalgia for it. I do not have any sort of personal attachment or story like we all, well, 3 out of 4 of us do, which gets to the point that I'm making. Danielle was watching and it's just kind of like, she's able to, I think, respect all of the things we're talking about, but then is like not emotionally attached to anything that's going on. But I've had conversations with people who talk about Lawrence of Arabia as being emotionally attached. And it's like, it's this deeply, symbolic, beautiful movie. The other thing that I think is a similarity is that is talking about a conflict in war, that therefore there's a lot of war scenes, there's a lot of battle that happens, and without knowing the history, you're kind of watching this just sort of being like, okay, what's going on? I don't understand what's taking place, who's on what side,
like
why is this
fighting
so
them,
significant?
And then they fight them, and then they join and they fight them.
And Return of the King is very much the same thing. And
then the king is here. Okay.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
Good for him.
From a story standpoint, it's very weak without the other two coming before it.
Right.
But it's so much payoff and there's no like setup, which I think makes it hard as a standalone to watch, because you're like, why should I care?
Yeah.
And it is the one, there's no like, because like in the first one, like Frodo kind of always is meh, but at least he's less meh at the beginning of the story, and he just slowly descends through it because of the ring.
Because of the ring.
Don't come for me, nerds. But like in this one particularly, he kind of sucks the whole time.
Bad.
And that is to not have the history of like seeing him descend. You're just like, why the fuck do I care about this guy?
Yeah,
He's the
for
worst.
sure.
For sure.
Before we started, Nick paused it and he's like, okay, do you remember this? Now, do you remember this? And he like set up
Yeah.
all the characters for me because I have watched the movies. I just forgot most of them. But you gave me the main points, which brought me into that world. But again, I don't remember Frodo sucking as bad as he did in this one.
Well, so for one thing, yes, he does suck more in this one. I think you're right, Vinny, about like the descent. I think the point about the ring and the ring being the cause of that is a big crux and is part of the arc of this movie, which is why the whole movie starts with Smeagol. And this is the first, you're seeing what Gollum once was. He was a normal person, and he seems all happy, and he's smiley with his, I don't know if it's his brother or his friend. I never quite remember track.
I think they're friends.
Okay. Deagle, they're, and then like they go from we're buddies to I'm ready to kill you in seconds.
It's dark.
And then, he obviously, he eventually becomes Gollum. So it's like that idea of you're watching, they show you Gollum's descent so that you can see that that's what's happening to Frodo. But, okay. I've been like waiting for this moment. All right. So I have layered explanations for why I think it's okay that Frodo, as you all put it, kind of sucks.
Okay.
All right. So for one thing, remember, he is the point of view character for the audience. So in some ways, it's actually better if he's very bland because he is supposed to be able for you to imbue yourself into that character no matter who you are. So if there's too much that would conflict with that of, strong character beats and they don't attach with you, then it'd be harder for you to do that. 2, it is all about, this whole story is, I think, about like the defeating of evil, and specifically Frodo and Sam's journey is about having to carry the burdens of our lives, and that oftentimes they're burdens that we don't necessarily choose to carry. But we have them. And I cry every time I see the line where Sam says, I cannot carry you, Mr. Frodo. Or sorry, I cannot carry the ring, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. And then just lumps him on his, and I mean, I get weepy just thinking about it because it's the power of realizing that we as people on this earth do not have to carry those heavy burdens ourselves. And it is in fact our friends that help us get through that, literally and figuratively. So.
Wow. That's
For
deep.
sure. I mean, truly, like, like Frodo has this internal thing that's going on that we see a little bit with like, okay, the scarring on his chest, and like obviously he's very sad, and when he and Sam are talking about like let's talk about the happy times. Like, can we remember the happy times? Like, he can't.
Yeah.
Because he's just in a really deep, dark pit of sadness. And he's got this friend who's here trying to have his back, and he can't see that. And like when, the negative thought of Smeagol is there and is like, he's not even your friend. He's actually against you. Like, that's something that happens when you're in a deep, dark pit. Like,
yes.
And that Sam was, lucky enough to see the lembas bread and realize that, oh, no, I'm still here for him. Like, we got to go up and help. Like, it's all a metaphor because J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and who's the other contemporary who they were sending letters to each other?
The third guy.
The third guy. They were all in the war, the Great War together. And all the things that they wrote are very much like them working through the wars. And like C.S. Lewis.
I thought they were more religious allegory kind of thing.
They are. C.S.
Lewis comes at it from a much
He's just
more,
like, he processed his things through Jesus.
Yeah.
And good for him.
And there's definitely religious allegory in this movie and in these books specifically. But yeah, there's a big, and Tolkien talks about it a lot, about how like the ring is really the war. It's there's no end in sight. There's no way out. There's seemingly hopelessness of this evil. And the evil isn't really anyone in particular, because this is World War I. It's not anyone specific. It's just malaise of like, everyone's bad. Everything's bad.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What are we doing? Who knew that humanity could go so far as to have a war against each other at this scale?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Who knew that so many people could die
Yeah.
was kind of
So
because at the time it was they they called it the war, the Great War, the war to end all wars, because we're talking
Yeah.
World War I here, and people
Right.
were like, "There's
Yeah.
no way we would ever do this again," because oh, the depths of human depravity.
oh
yeah, like oof.
Yeah. Dang.
but
Yeah,
alas, we still get this like amazing like joy. We have the like the journey of our king, who from the previous movies like is somebody who had to eschew his destiny and couldn't claim it, and like was it whether he didn't believe in him whether he didn't believe in himself, or it was like all the compounded factors of like you can't come be the king right now because of
Right.
this and this, like
yeah.
all of that and all of these things that went wrong, and in the end he's the king. And all of our favorites survived. And
Yeah, it's an interesting arc too, because like no one dies.
Right.
Like yeah, as opposed to like in other parts of the series, people die, but it feels like a little bit of a tilt on the head of the typical third part of the trilogy, where it's usually like a bit
Everyone
of a bloodbath.
dies.
We're gonna
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah.
But like 4 of the main characters are gonna die,
Mhm.
right? And instead, it's like, oh no, everyone
except
lives.
for Theoden and Boromir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
characters that like are
Needed to die.
that like have death sort of built into their arc, but it's not just like there's not a like, oh, we're gonna kill people to experience the loss. It's
Mhm.
like the loss is felt, and those emotions are still felt
Yeah.
without killing off exceptional characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. They killed what's the bad dad's name?
The steward of Gondor.
So Denethor,
Oh yes, Denethor.
but I mean that
I
dude
forgot his
needs to
death.
die. That guy's. If
That
you
was-
think Frodo sucks,
Yeah,
let's talk
no,
about
that was
sucking, man.
despicable. He's like, "Hello, your son's alive. Just burn him. It's fine."
Just burn him. Oh my god.
What the hell?
Yeah, he's terrible. He's the worst.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
is.
is the scene where Boromir goes to Faramir goes to ask if he'd prefer for him to die. Is that
It's-
in the
It's in the
Mhm.
theatrical because
Yeah,
we watched it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
rough.
Because I like had to rewind it for a second because I can't remember. I was like, "Did you hear what he just said?" And you were like, "What? No, what?"
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Because this is kind of some brutal shit that
It's
just
Yeah.
took
pretty
place."
brutal.
It is rough.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
and the whole like chewing of the meats. Like you don't need to
Oh.
see the actual like gnarly battle because he's doing the gnarly battle right now with that tomato. Like
that
I-
is nasty.
The tomato.
I had another note in here that said that scene is like The Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
Because Danielle's not seen The Godfather. That's long been on our list, but I know. But like, there's the beautiful scene of the baptism, and then there's just like cleaning house, and it's this gorgeous juxtaposition of the editing of back and forth between this like one very innocuous scene and horrific things happening, and then it's set to beautiful music, and that is exactly what this was too. It was just
Yes.
like, oh, this thing's happening over here, and it's metaphorically symbolic of this thing that's happening. Oh, and it's just mwah.
I think maybe this is gonna sound shocking to all of you. Maybe I would have wanted to watch the extended version because I would rather see like character development and things like that than me personally than battles.
Yeah, fair.
Because
Yeah.
those battles are long.
Really long.
Yeah.
Like, there's
What
a
are you
lot.
guys doing right now? You want to pop in?
Let's go
no.
the extended now. Yeah.
well,
Also,
I know
go ahead, Tara.
I haven't read the books, but I heard that the battle writing is very poor.
Oh,
He's not a
Interesting.
good which is a big butting of heads for like Tolkien purists who saw the movies and were like, what the fuck is this? Like his battle writing isn't. It's very quick and metaphorical.
Yeah, I remember
And-
reading one that was like such and such happened, and then the battle of whatever happened, and then this happened. Like it was just like
Like
I'm
a
sure
single
with a little bit
sentence.
more flowery language, but a whole battle that was like a major battle was a sentence.
They like avoid battles pretty well in the book. It'll be like they came upon Aragorn, who had clearly killed a bunch of people, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "All right, we got to move on." And it's like, what? Like, what? We don't get to see any of it. It's just like, oh yeah, he killed a bunch of people. Let's go. Like,
So that's
Dang.
Peter Jackson.
yeah. I mean, that's
He brought the battles.
yeah.
Well,
really
I
brought the
wonder if
battles
that
in.
also is something to say about J.R.R. Tolkien, in that as we were saying, he's working through his trauma of the war. Maybe he didn't
Yeah.
particularly want to relive and rewrite a
Yeah.
bunch of
No, I think
detailed-
totally.
Yeah. The one battle I like, or army that I like, are the dead people.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Which that
They're
also
pretty cool.
still holds up. The fact that it's like you see through them, but then they seem like they're corporeal enough to have interacted. Like I just
Right.
was shocked at how much that held up.
Yeah, it was really
Me
good.
too.
I also
That's
just want to
crazy.
say this note that I have before I forget. Elrond has a 7 head. My God, that man's forehead is huge.
Yeah.
Big forehead.
I legit didn't understand what you
It's
meant by
very
a
important.
7 head at first. I was like, what? He has 7
Biggest
heads?
forehead
What's-
I ever did see. Sorry.
Yeah, it's that wig placement, baby.
I think he actually looks like that because isn't he red? Red.
He is Red Skull.
Red Skull.
I was gonna say Red Skull.
Yeah,
Aha.
you had that.
I'm.
He's
getting
also
it.
in the Matrix.
He is.
Oh yeah, he's a funny looking dude.
Mr. Anderson.
Also, this movie, I can't remember all the other ones, but this one needs more Orlando Bloom. Honestly, he's not in it enough, and he's very
Yeah.
hot.
This one is one, and I think this is why I didn't get nominated for any. Well, there's some strategy, I guess. I read Sean Astin's book, and he talks about how they were making pitches for certain people to get nominated for the acting awards, but they didn't think they were very strong for this one specifically because it's such an ensemble piece.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to categorize people as lead versus supporting.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that they were going to actually to push for that and to make a big Oscars push when they weren't sure that was going to win. Because in the Fellowship,
Yeah, there's a lot more.
there are a few of them. I think Elijah, Sean, and Ian McKellen all were nominated and did not win in the first movie. And so I think they kind of were like, oh, maybe we should do some. But I guess so they sort of strategized against it. But I also think in this one specifically, it's really there are so many storylines that are so complexly tied. It's really hard to say like who is doing superb acting in this because it's all sort of building off of each other as opposed to like, okay, this person is a standout in this role doing this thing.
I disagree with them. I think Sean Astin, is the best actor in this.
I would agree with that.
It's
Yeah.
Makes me
he
feel
talks about it a
things.
lot. There was the producers really wanted Sean Astin to win Best Supporting Actor. They
And that's
wanted
what I was
to
going
make
to
a
say,
push.
but what do you give him, supporting or not? Where I
Supporting,
think
yeah.
he
And they
acts
wanted to
more
make
than
the
Frodo
push.
does in this.
He's
but
the hero of literally everything. He gets him
Yeah.
up there enough to get rid of the ring.
Yeah.
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 But then I'm sure people would have fought back against it and been like, yeah, is he truly a lead versus is he supporting?
Then he gets
Right.
murdered in Stranger Things. Like, what a sad.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Oh, have you seen Stranger Things?
Is that the first episode that happens?
No, it's the
Like
second
third season or something.
I was going to say later on, so oops.
Yikes. He doesn't
Um,
die.
Spoiler alert. Insert this before we talk about it.
we
But
do
yeah, he
want to
does.
probably get towards the end here. So do we want to talk about the 30 minutes more what the fuck? Because even I wrote a note like there's still just too many endings. And I think that it is plagued not only by the fact that they have multiple endings, because I think there's so many intersecting storylines
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
want each of them to have their own, then the come together endings at the very end.
Yep.
But on top of that, they make the choice in the editing to have a lot of like, here's the moment, fade to black,
Yes.
fade back into next one. And
Yes.
if you'd have had
It's
a hard
very
cut,
weird.
just have a hard
Yeah.
cut. Then I'm not like expecting it to be the end of the movie
Yeah.
every time.
When
It's-
the one that is egregious to me is the one where it's not an ending, but they treat it like one. So the ring gets destroyed. They're laying on the rocks.
Yes.
The army gets destroyed. And then it cuts to Frodo and Sam, and they're just like, well, I guess we're going to die here.
Mhm.
And then it fades to black. And I'm like, whoa, zero storylines have been
Yeah.
wrapped up at this point. Why did you make this as if it were an ending when literally cannot be?
I know.
Not even if one storyline had been wrapped up and you fade to black, I'd be like, okay. Like we don't know what's happening with any of the characters right now.
Yes.
Can't call this an end. But
In love with movies. Da da da.
it like tries to be like, and that's the end.
And then it's like,
so rough.
Just
Gotcha.
kidding. Eagles.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enter Eagles. Yeah, I do think I put 73 endings, but I do think there are 4 or 5.
There's at least a half a dozen.
Yeah.
There's that
the
one.
Eagles ending. There's the
the Mary.
Frodo wakes
Frodo
up
wakes
in the
up
bed.
in the bed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
And
Frodo
they're
wakes
all
up in the bed.
there.
I forgot about. Frodo
There's
wakes up
the
in bed.
like end of the crowning and like you bow to no one.
Then
Yeah.
they
There's
get
the-
back to Hobbiton.
They get back, yeah, and they cheers, and then they
Get married. Sam gets
the
married.
the actual ending.
Oh yeah, Sam gets
Does
married.
Sam gets married,
That's an ending.
which feels like its own
yeah.
separate thing. Told
Seven
you.
endings. But I think part of it is like this is wrapping up a whole universe, and not just this book or
Yeah.
this, not just the Lord of the Rings, but also the Hobbit universe. And they're like, we have to tell you what happened with Bilbo, and we have to.
And the elves, all the elves have to leave because that's been
Yes.
Elrond's thing the whole time. Is like, we gotta get the fuck out of here before this
We gotta
world
go.
goes to shit. Like, so we gotta like a minor subplot that needs to get wrapped up.
So
Like,
the ending.
mhm.
Is Frodo going to? He's dying now. Like he goes to
Okay.
die, right?
So
I was gonna say,
this is where
this-
it gets
this a
good.
whole
That's not
hour.
even the
Buckle
ending.
in.
That's not even the ending. So this is what happened. So the lore of this, right? The elves came from another place and they came to Middle Earth. And then eventually, because elves don't die, they recognize that they need to return to that place when their job is done on Middle Earth. So a big thing that's happening throughout the series is the elves are slowly leaving. It's the
That's
end of their age.
The horse
Men are going to
people.
take over and they're going to
The
leave.
people who ride the horses are the elves.
No.
The really pretty people like Orlando.
No.
Bloom.
The people
Orlando
who ride the
Bloom's an
horses
elf.
are men.
Oh, those are dudes.
Those are horse lords.
The
They're the
people-
Rohirrim.
But
Oh.
so
Okay.
like Arwen leaving and Elrond leaving, Galadriel leaving, all these people leaving.
The people floating in the forest.
Yeah.
Oh, is that cut?
Always long
might be.
hair.
There's a briefer moment.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So they leave. So Frodo, because Bilbo, because he had the ring for 40 years or whatever, they're gonna honorarily take him with them.
Because he was a ring bearer.
And Frodo gets to come too, because he was a ring bearer, and he also sort of has gone through this emotional arc where he doesn't feel like he can find joy in life again. He's kind of too. However, the true ending of the story is so much better. So Aragorn obviously makes the choice to stay. Arwen makes the choice to stay with him. They both die natural deaths. Merry and Pippin decide to go to his funeral. They've had unnatural long life because of drinking the water. They also they die and are buried beside him. So all of them are buried together. Legolas, after this last ship has left, so Orlando Bloom, he decides, you know what, I should join my people. But I don't want to go without Gimli. And Gimli is like, I'll fucking go with you, dude. So they get a rowboat and row out there themselves to the
How
to the
have I
like.
not heard
Undying
this
Land.
before?
This
And
is
why
because
did
it's
they
in
not show this?
It's in an appendices of the books.
Oh.
And then, of course, so Sam lives his life. He's like the mayor of the Shire forever. His wife dies. His kids are all settled. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go join Frodo. And he goes out there and joins Frodo and Gandalf and Legolas and Gimli, who are
And
out there.
Sam is invited because he was also a ring bearer.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
bore the ring
For,
for the
Very
sec
quick, yeah.
when it got taken from Frodo, he carried it. So, which is a longer section in the book. It's like a couple of days. But so he gets to
Wow.
come, and Gimli gets to come because Legolas invited him as his guest.
Oh.
But it's
So half the fellowship ends up in the Undying Lands where you don't die. It's a heaven-esque place. And the other half lives their mortal life, goes through a death cycle, and then is all buried together. And it's a glorious, amazing, like he gives everyone
blowing
a
my
happy
mind.
ending. Yeah,
Dang.
it's awesome, and it's literally in the very back of Return of the King. In fact, the whole Arwen story is also in this chunk. It's not a part of the main book.
It
is.
That's Liv Tyler.
He's
Yes.
got this Liv
Yeah.
Tyler, yeah.
And the Arwen story is a whole other thing because of
It's a callback to another story that he's also written. Basically, the Return of the King is about this thick, and about 2/3 of it is the book, and the last third is just a bunch of like, oh, and here's all the lore that I didn't get in, but I feel like I should put in there.
Wow.
And it's like this ending, it's this like tale that like, oh, meanwhile, while Aragorn was doing all this stuff, also he was like in love with this elf woman. Like he just puts in all this stuff that didn't really necessarily fit the arc of the story, but is in there, which they incorporate a lot of in the movies because they can.
Yeah.
But that's the like
that's why there's so many endings, because they're like, there's 30 appendices. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
And literally
Makes
the like Mount Doom happens. It's the third chapter of the second part of the book. So the ring gets destroyed in the third chapter, and there are 7 more chapters.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, so that's the true end. And so he goes to the Undying Lands in that moment, and that's a good ending for the story of Frodo, which is really the story. But all the other characters also get a bit of a happy ending, and while they live their lives to the fullest here and either die or decide to go to the Undying Lands.
Dang. The more you know. This is why we have people on our podcast. And it's not just us.
So, I mean, read the book when I was 8 and then have read it multiple times since.
That's amazing.
That's
And-
fantastic.
Yeah, it's a killer ending. It's very like, oh, I think again, like experienced so much in this war. He was like, I just need these characters to like have good lives.
Yeah. That's great.
So
Well,
yeah.
We do need to. This is I can't. My brain can't even move further past this. I have to like just.
This is also the podcast, the extended version.
It is.
Yeah, the
I'm not
extended
mad about
cut.
it. I knew it was gonna be a yeah.
Because there's so much in this movie.
Yeah.
And usually I go beginning to end. There's no way I was doing that for this
No.
one.
You know,
So,
So
Nick,
our next thing is we do 0 to 5 heart rating. Okay, so that's
Heart rating.
meant to be, 0 to 5 hearts is like supposed to be sort of like objectively how good we think this movie is. And then
Okay.
would you renew your vows is often a lot of people will be revisiting a movie that maybe you haven't visited in a while. So it's like, does it still hold up? Are you still going to want to watch it again? Do you plan to have it in your future?
I think we know everyone's answers, but okay.
I'll go ahead. I was going to say that one. I think yes. I'll go ahead and start though. I'm going to give it 4.75 out of 5. It is a little too long. It is not the best examples of acting for even these actors with these specific characters for all the things we've talked about. That's the only reason it gets dinged. Otherwise, it's a near perfect movie. And yes, not only will I watch this movie again, I'm excited for the next time that I will watch this movie again. So.
Dang. 4 out of 5 hearts. You know, I always start this by saying, I don't really like this movie. And then our guests come on and they explain more things. I'm like, damn, I do like this movie. However, too long. Just in general, I don't do well with long movies. Not enough Orlando Bloom. Hashtag cancel Frodo. Would I renew my vows? Yeah, I don't think I have a choice since Hobbit Day happens every year.
Yeah.
I
But
love that.
I will pay attention to the parts next time that are in the extended cut that aren't in the theatrical cut so I can know more about I am no man. That gal, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
Queen. You can hear her sing too.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, is it too cheesy to give it a 5 out of 5?
I've given 100 out of 5s.
Yeah, I was going to say
So-
she's given 5,000 out of 5. Before,
Yeah,
so.
I'll give a 5 out of 5 because it's such a comfort movie. It's just so delightful and would watch again immediately, anytime.
Right after
Will
this.
Like
renew my
extended
vows.
cut right now.
I don't tempt me,
mean-
Frodo. Don't tempt me. Yeah, I give it 4.75. I think the very similar looking cast
Yeah.
across the board
Problematic,
definitely
yeah.
deserves a ding
Yeah.
on it being a perfect movie.
Yeah,
However, I mean, everything else is a knockout. I would absolutely renew my vows daily with this film.
Oh my God.
Just have it running
I really
constantly
look-
in the background.
We
Amazing.
literally prior to this, we're like, we need to do another marathon. So
We haven't.
we haven't in a while.
in like
so
2 months,
it's-
right?
Yeah, yeah. In like a solid like 2 weeks, we haven't done it. So we should probably do it again.
Amazing.
It's been a minute.
All right. Well, before we let everyone go with plugs and everything, we do have a quick little segment that we are happy to be reintroducing to our podcast. And you can make it happen yourselves again in the future, listeners. This is our Love Notes section where we get to share 5-star ratings that we have on Apple or Spotify. So if you do that, you end up getting yourself onto our Love Notes section. This comes from Link22. My husband and I love the movies, and this show inspired us to add fun date nights, weekly check-ins, and grow, quote, closer through science with the 36 questions. Earlier listeners will know we used to do a segment of the 36 questions getting closer to each other from a research study.
But we ran out.
We had 36 episodes. It's been fun to hear about the love part and then hear refreshing perspectives on movies that I might not have otherwise thought of. Dani and Nic have a great chemistry and make me chuckle and feel included with the thought-provoking discussions. I love that you fist pump to the make me chuckle.
If I can make a person laugh, that's all I care about.
Comedy baby.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Link22, thank you so much for your kind review. If you listeners want to hear your own thoughts about our show on the air, please go ahead and leave us a 5-star review, and I promise it will be read in a future episode. All right. With that, we'll hand things over to our guests. Is there anything you would like to plug or promote, or where can our listeners find you on any social media platforms?
Oh my gosh. I'm on Instagram.com at
.com.
tara.egan.
That's EJ.
I'm also at
I mean,
Vinny.Tangerlini. We just
Wow.
love dots in this household.
good luck spelling that.
Yeah, good luck. Maybe it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
We'll link their stuff. I'm gonna plug for Tara. There's a new improvised decom show that
Oh,
she's
yeah.
in. So go check that out. Is it Friday nights at IO?
Yes. Hold
At
on.
8, yeah.
Like, what night of the week was it? I really live by my
Friday.
calendar. And I
It was
don't know what
Friday.
day it is. Great. Friday. Very fun show.
All right, so
And
if you live
follow
in Chicago.
Comedy Sports as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Comedy Sports. That's all of us are related to that in some way. So
It brings
yeah,
everyone together.
check that out.
And then
Bringing
Nick's just
everyone
always
together.
in the
I'm
crowd.
often there.
Often there. And you know what? It's awesome.
We can't do it without you.
Yeah.
Literally no audience, no show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can follow me at Nic Loves Movies, NICLUV Love. That's it, Nick at Nic Loves Movies on Twitter and Instagram. Dani, where can they find you?
At Danny Miami 4.
And you can follow us as a podcast at in the letter N Love with Movies, all spelled out, at In Love with Movies on Threads.
Wow, we have friends.
We're on Threads now. Hive.
Let's start there.
Twitter and Instagram. Yes. So go find us, follow us, and see more of what we're doing. Thank you, everyone. I love you, Dani.
I love you, Nick.
And,
And we love you, Vinny
too.
and Tara.
Oh.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We did it! We should put some Lord of the Rings music here. Dun, 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 dun.
We should do 7 more endings.
Oh my god.
I actually legitimately like that. Let's just do 3 more takes. Like,
Oh, she lost her headphones on that one.
Thank you both so much for having us. It was such an honor to be here, and we love you.
We love you. We're gonna go to the Undying Lands now.
This episode sucked. That's one ending.
that's the ending.
Hashtag cancel Frodo. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I cannot wait to edit that to be multiple
Oh
endings.
my god.